Hello, fellow traders. Tis I, the Rumpled One, coming to you on Tuesday, May the 6th. The year's 2025. Let's talk trading. Trading with Walmal. These videos are for educational purposes only. Your results may differ from mine and different from Walmal's. And I want you to make sure you have your risk management in place so you never lose more than you're willing to lose on any one single trade or during any one single session. So Walmall, we were just talking before the video, and it seems like we both got in the trade in a trade, and we weren't talking, but we both went short at the same time, and we both got inflected.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just one of those things, Well, it just happens, and you know what can you say? I mean, the probably the better thing for me to have done, to be honest with you, is what I should have done was said, okay, pull the plug on this trade, take a probably at that point like a 7, 8, maybe 9 pip loss, and just say call it a day and wait for another opportunity to come along. But I truly believe for a lot of reasons the price would go back in the other direction, and um, and so I stuck with the trade. Overall when I got done, I actually was able to get into profit, but I literally sat in that trade for 2.5 hours, something ridiculous like that. I mean, just absolute craziness. But that's trading. That's sometimes going to happen. That 2.5 hours was actually 2 hours. I'm looking at the chart now, but the thing is that type of thing is going to happen. And, to be honest with you, I'm worn out at this point. And sometimes you got to go and start asking yourself. At least I have to go and start asking myself: is 9 pips worth getting worn out? Because yes, I did finish the day with the pips that I wanted to get for the day, but I had to go through so much aggravation, have so much go against me, and I never had butterflies in my stomach or anything because I never hit my, my stop, what I call a stopgap, where this is my absolute place where I need to get out because I'm not willing to lose any more pips than this for the day. But at the same time, I flirted with it, and it's just not a good thing.
Yeah, and the funny thing for me is I'm on a deadline, and what happened was I'm pointing on the chart. I had gotten short here, and then right here I may be able to take maybe a .2 pip or something, and then it reversed on me. And then I remember I got in a trade, and then I don't remember which one of these candles, but it slammed down, and but it bounced so quick. I never had an opportunity to take a profit on that one, and that happens so many times. Or it'll come within like .2 of where I need to get out. But what the funny thing is, though, and I was looking for shorts, and I was pretty much trying to only short on these M30 candles when they were red. Well, then it ran all the way up to 95, and I kicked myself on this first time because then it dropped like 6 pips real quick after it ran up, and then it went up a little bit, and then it came back down. And it's one of those things where hindsight, but in the moment, it's one of those things where your emotions kick in, and it's like you start to manage your emotions. It's like I just want to get out, with a profit, as opposed to saying, okay, this is what I believe is going to happen, and you have a point where the market's saying, well, it still might happen, but right now we've got your arm twisted. You're gonna tap out, and and so what had happened was I looked at the H4 chart, and I saw that there was a pivot that needed to be hit, and it was right here about 68, because at the time price was up in the 80s and 90s. And I'm looking at this chart thinking it really needs to take out that pivot today. And H4 had gone positive and then it came negative, and we know what H4 likes to do on the pound. It likes to run for a bit. And I'm thinking, I'm looking at the charts, I'm looking at the high minus close. It was something around, I don't know, 17 or something. It was still in the rat zone, but for some strange reason, I mean, it was up in this area right here. It was above 90, and then there was something also right around 88 and 85. There was a couple other signals to keep going short there, and I basically pulled the plug at 86, and it went down and it hit that 68. So, but the thing is, what was I managing? Was I really trading, or was I just managing my emotions? And that's one of those things where you got to get out of the emotions. Sometimes, I guess, the heavier you trade, the more emotion you might have. Because I was in six trades at the time. But I think, what did you say? You wound up in 20 trades or something?
Yeah, I was in 20 trades, but it's just, the thing is, I did, again, I'm going to repeat myself from earlier in the video. I never violated my rules in terms of expending all my ammunition.
Right.
So because of that, I was able to do that. And that's just because of what I do. I'd rather go and try what some people would say is light, because the reason why is because it gives me the opportunity as trades go in my direction to keep on adding to it. And when I get opportunity to go and get a better price, it gives me opportunity to go and get a better price, and it works out. It works well for me. The problem is that some people, what they'll do is they'll have that same attitude, but they misjudge or miscalculate what their real ability is, what in terms of a load, and because there's two different things that you got to consider, and you hit on the first one already, and that is when you start to trade heavy, where's your emotional capacity at? Where do you go and emotionally go off the deep end? Oh shoot, I'm sitting in here and I got a full lot on. I got and that means that every time this thing moves a pip, what's going to happen? It's going to move $10 on me, and it's like that's great if it's going in the right direction, but if it's not going in the right direction, that can add up pretty quickly. Whereas other people could be sitting there literally with putting 10 lots on, and and the reality is that every time it moves a pip, it moves $100, and for some people they're able to handle that. Other people, can't, and you have to figure out. It's one of those things where, I say it all the time, but you got to figure out where you are. What are you able to go in and manage, in terms of your emotion, because we're all different, and different people, have different capacities for handling, that type of a risk. So it's sort of like, looking at it from a worldly point of view or a world type job. Some people, they see a fire and they run into the building to go and get people out, and other people go and run the other way to get away from the fire. You know, and there's nothing wrong with either person. It's just, okay, now that you know who, the thing is, you got to figure out, are you the person who runs into the fire, or are you the person who runs away from the fire? And if you're the person that runs away from the fire, you better not become a fireman. You know, go figure out some other profession.
Yeah, I hear you. And I'm kind of looking at this chart here, and I'm saying, I'm looking at the rat zone. It's like the smart rat was, short at 90, 91 area, and then the original rat was at 33.82. So I actually had my TP inside the rat zone. It's like, and you know, the thing is, it's one of those things where statistically, high minus close is going to be 20 or better on the pound. Even with these tight ranges, that statistic's still, you know, proven true. And here on the red rat, it actually says, it's going to move about 12 pips, 80% of the time. It's moved 12 pips. Those are pretty good odds.
Yep. It's just, and if the only thing that runs against you is that, is it the right time to do it, or should have I waited an hour?
Yeah.
But that's trading, and that's sort of like my first point, in the very beginning of the video, and that is that, sometimes you get into trades and it goes against you, and manage your risk, and you say, okay, I took a loss. But guess what? I can go and wait for the next opportunity. There's the next opportunity. Okay, I can jump into that one, and not only did I go and make up the last loss, but I made a little bit more.
Right.
That's and I think that's one of the things that people, we all got to go and learn, is that, it's not about trying to go and become a multimillionaire in a month and a half. What we need to do is look at it realistically, and the realistic thing is that, every day we take another little piece of cheese, and we just keep on adding up all the little pieces of cheese. We don't fill the barn, with hay in one cutting. It takes multiple cuttings.
Oh, come on, Walmal. Aren't you getting that YouTube video where that one guy took 5,000 and made 100,000 in 9 months? That's almost Lambo money there.
Congratulations to him. I'm gonna stick to the idea. I'm gonna go and make a little bit every day, and then that way, at the end of the year, I'll have something that I can look at. Because the problem is, when you go get big chunks, you lose big chunks, and that's just the reality of what happens.
Yeah.
So you're reading that new book.
Yeah, I finished it last night. But the other thing is, it's something that Annie Duke would talk about, and that's resulting, where if you have a winning trade, you think you're smart, you think you found the method, blah blah blah. When reality, it's just really luck. The skill is basically taking small losses as opposed to letting small losses become big losses, because that's the skill, that's the real skill. Because there's so many ways to analyze. You got your technical, you've got your fundamentals, you've got your statistics, and none of that, it's like you said, the entry doesn't matter in a way. What matters is you define where you're going to tap out, and if it never reaches that point, hopefully you get out with either a small loss, a small win, or a big win. But you basically say, you know what, not going to take the big loss. If you drew one of them matrices or tic-tac-toe boards where you had, loss in one column, win in the other, and then on the other side you have, big, small. You basically say, loss, big loss, that you just don't let that quadrant happen.
Exactly right.
I should do a graphic on that and put it up.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You just got to let it play out, and you use your skills, and try to maximize the amount of profits that you get and minimize your loss.
And you know what, Walmal? The fastest 15 minutes trading is just about over. So, fellow traders, let us know what you think about our conversation today. And I want you to always remember and never forget, it's not what you trade, it's how you trade it. So go out there and drain the banks. This is the Rumpled One, over and out.